Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Yesterday was the second anniversary of my book, The Path of an Eagle, How to Overcome and Lead After Being Knocked Down, which you can get a copy of if you haven't already. Links are available in the show description. And what I found interesting was one person seemed comment and say that I am too young to be writing a book or a self-help book, as it were. And be giving advice because I haven't lived enough life yet. I need to live at least 30 more years before writing a book that is supposedly going to help people. If, like, what kind of life have I really lived? And let me just say this. It's always amazing to me how people, they make a prerequisite judgment call on someone because they're young. And they automatically go, oh, you haven't got nothing to teach. You got nothing that you can actually tell us about because you haven't really lived enough life yet. You're too young. But the thing is, you can live a lot of life in a short space of time because of experiences, because of certain circumstances in life that has just piled onto you, versus somebody that has lived, up until the age of 50 and hasn't really been through much. There's a lot of those people. They haven't got a really mature perspective on life. And the thing is, I had to grow up fairly quickly, and that's not a bad thing at all. And the reason why I wrote the book was because there are people out there that definitely are going through far worse things than what I did, but nevertheless, they have chosen the path forward. And that's why I wrote the book, to help people that may feel like they're stuck. If they can see that a young person was able to get through it and overcome it, then what's to stop you? What's to say that you can't go forward yourself? And the other thing is that I always find interesting is that they make the comment that before they've actually read the book. And I encourage people, you know what? If you want to make that judgment call, how about you read the book? And then if you still feel the same way after you've read the book, then say it. Don't say it before, say it afterwards, because then you actually have some knowledge behind you. Beforehand, you don't really have any knowledge. You just got the pre-assumption idea that I am some young guy and I got no idea what I'm talking about. And by the way, this is not a self-help book. This is a memoir of sorts. So it's my story, or God's story that he's given me, that I am passing along to you all. And it doesn't even cover the surface, man. It's not a big book, but there's a lot that I've packed in here that I've had to journey through and I've had to learn, which is a fantastic thing. And I say that God's story is the best story possible. Like, how in the world did I get to this point in my life? The only explanation of it all is to say that God was the one that got me to this point. I am nothing without him. So there's that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the reason why I am talking about my book is because, and that comment in particular, is because 27-year-old Dylan Mulvaney, we all know who Dylan Mulvaney is, announces Dylan's debut book, Paper Doll, documenting Dylan's so-called transition. So if you want to have a go at me for writing a book that is going to actually help people and my real story and things that I've actually been through, which are rather horrific in nature, fine, have a go at me. But my goodness me, please, before you have a go at me, number one, read the book. I will even pay for you to read the book if you're that adamant that I haven't really lived enough life yet. And secondly, there are people out there like Dylan Mulvaney that are going to be incredibly famous and get a lot more money. I did not write my book for money, for fame. Dylan is writing Dylan's book for money and for fame, for sure. Look, documenting a transition that actually hasn't happened at all. And some people want to have a go at me for writing a book that's on my story, and Dylan hasn't even have a transition at all. The 365 days of girlhood, mocking and parroting women, for goodness sake. And Dylan gets a book deal from that. You know why? Because it's the LGBT whatever agenda. A mate of mine actually messaged me the other day and said, Jay, if you had have written a book on your so-called transition, let's just say that was the case, if I had decided to come out as being transgender and transition to that being a woman, my book would be on the #1 bestseller list tomorrow. Literally, I'm not kidding. It'd be on the New York Times bestseller list. And I kid you not, Dylan's book, when it comes out, will be on the New York Times bestseller list. You know why? Because it's a political statement. My book, on the other hand, was none of that. None of that. I'm a no-name author, right? Dylan is obviously famous on TikTok and Instagram. Why is that? For parroting and mocking women, for living a delusional lie. And me, on the other hand, completely different story. But again, I don't care if the book became a bestseller or not. That's not my point in all this. My point is Dylan's getting a book deal for something that Dylan made a mockery of. And now Dylan continues to make more of a mockery by telling a story that is not actually real. If you're going to go out and go, I'm going to write a book on my 365 days of girlhood transition, and I'm going to tell the world what I was feeling every single day during the 365 days of girlhood to get me to that point. That ain't a book. But for some reason, editors and publishers think that it's a book because you know why? It's going to sell. It's going to sell copies. Mine, on the other hand, something that is actually, I don't know, I'm not saying that it's a great book, but I'm saying it's a decent book. It's not boring. For those of you that have actually read it and know that it's not boring, it's not boring. But the thing is, why would anyone want to read the story of at the time, a 25-year-old, right? I'm 28 now. I got, according to a lot of people, right, pre-assumed judgment call until you actually pick up the book and read it. We know Dylan Mulvaney. We know Dylan and how Dylan got famous. I could do the exact same thing. I could parody. I could try and become famous the exact same way. But is that honest? No, it's not. So anyway, the book, which will be released in early 2025, features a collection of journal entries covering topics that Mulvaney said Dylan couldn't talk about on social media. So obviously the right thing to do would be put it in a book. Well, thing is, the moment the book comes out, everyone's going to read the stuff that Dylan couldn't apparently put on social media that's now going to be put on social media. Mark my words. Transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who documented Dylan's transition in the viral Days of Girlhood TikTok series, which mocked and parodied women, announced Dylan's debut book on Wednesday. The book, titled Paper Doll, Notes from a Late Bloomer. Now, what does that tell you? A late bloomer. So we know that being gay didn't work for Dylan, and neither did Broadway. That didn't work. So what actually did work? 365 days of girlhood, because no one really was doing that on the internet, and it picked up big time. It got Dylan what Dylan wanted, fame and notoriety and success. But everyone, I think, is sick and tired of it, if you ask me. Notes from a late bloomer. You're not a late bloomer, honestly. Like, that's just an absurd subtitle, if you ask me. Is a collection of journal entries from the first year of Dylan's transition. The first year, people, there's going to be more years to come, believe you me, apparently, covering topics that Mulvaney, who has 9.4 million followers on TikTok, compared to my not many, 70,000 amazing humans that choose to follow me, and I still can't believe that is the case, couldn't talk about on social media, said in a video announcement the other day. It also includes essays, fantastic, essays following some of the messier moments. Gee, I would love to know the messier moments that Dylan Mulvaney had to journey through in the 365 days of girlhood. Oh, boy. Including when Dylan tried ayahuasca, a South American plant-based psychedelic, and being kissed as a oh boy. So the ayahuasca trip would have been when Dylan went to Peru and felt safe in Peru. That's probably like when Dylan posted a photo or a video of Dylan being in Peru. That was probably when Dylan was on ayahuasca and being kissed Yeah, the thing is, you're a biological dude, Dylan. You're not being kissed as a girl for the first time. That's not going to ever happen. You're being kissed as a biological dude. That's the only way it's ever going to happen. But if you in your head, I can't believe the ayahuasca didn't actually open up Dylan's brain a little bit more and reveal that, hey, you're not a biological woman. But it clearly didn't do that. It must have like doubled down on the delusion even more. It's like, I've got another great idea. We're going to milk this to the end of time, people. You're going to do shows. You're going to write a book. You're going to do a movie next. You're going to have X, Y, and Z fall at your feet. Oh, boy. But more than anything, it is about how Dylan rediscovered trans joy. Yes, we all know what trans joy looks like. What the bloody hell is trans joy? Someone please explain that to me. Why have you got to put trans in front of joy? Why have you got to put trans in front of anything these days? Anyway, joy after extreme pain. Oh boy, I would love to know the extreme pain that Dylan Mulvaney has actually been through. Let's do this, right? When Dylan Mulvaney's book comes out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the book and I'm going to compare what Dylan has been through in the extreme pain department versus what I've been through in my extreme pain department, because I guarantee you it doesn't even come close. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Paper Doll will be released March 11th. So I will do another video and I will waste my own money and buy a book so I can compare and contrast. And we'll see, ladies and gentlemen, we will see. To be continued. Man, tell you what, from the perspective of me wanting to actually compare and see what the victim mindset is going to be in full effect and full glory, I'm actually pretty keen to read the book. I never thought that I would say that, but here I am saying it to you all. But anyway, for months now, I've been scared to leave my house. I have been ridiculed in public. I've been followed and I felt a loneliness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. Well, the thing is, like, you chose fame and notoriety. So that was on you. I don't wish to be famous. I don't wish to have notoriety, none of that stuff, because yes, it would be very, very lonely. It's always lonely at the top. For a company to hire I'm going to use that person and then not publicly stand by them. Okay, we've already been through all that nonsense. And Dylan added that supporting or hiring WotC people shouldn't be political or relegated to Pride Month, calling on Dylan's followers to donate to the Transgender Law Centre. Mulvaney has since released Dylan's debut single, which bombed, Days of Girlhood. And then we also saw Dylan mock God the other day in the video that I made. And it just continues, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? So that's enough from me. But if you want to support myself and if you want to support you, that's why I wrote the book. There's also an audio book as well. Links will be available in the show description to make it easier for you all. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. You guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.